Hello everyone, good morning. Sharing my screen. So we have covered HCM data loader yesterday, and among the data loaders, we have covered three. So we've covered the FPDI and a spreadsheet data loader for which are available for FSCM, and for HCM Cloud we've covered HCM data loader. And in today's session we'll look at HCM spreadsheet data loader. So it works in a pretty similar fashion as STL works. Like you have to download a spreadsheet template, fill in the data, and then hit that upload button. As simple as that. And again, as STL, as a technical consultant, we don't get to use this much. This is typically for end user or a functional consultant who wants to upload a few transactions, right? So let's see how the HCM spreadsheet data loader works. And again, similar to what we did for journals spreadsheet data loader, you will have to go into a particular screen. Say, for example, if you want to load departments, you go to department screen, download the template, and then you can load it in. Say, for example, if you want to load something else, like say jobs or a positions, you go to manage position screen, you download the spreadsheet template, fill in the data, and load it back in. And as an example for the spreadsheet data loader, let's use departments, or let's try to load in few departments. So click on the drop down, go to setup and maintenance. Go to global search and search for the entity that you want to load data into. Say, for example, if it's a job, search for job, position, search for position, or department. So if you go to job, remember we loaded jobs yesterday with HCM data loader, right? But if you go into manage job screen, you could see that there is a spreadsheet option also available. So which means if you want to load in the jobs, you need not go through the HCM data loader process. In case it's only a few jobs that you want to load, you could have directly managed it within the spreadsheet itself or with the spreadsheet upload. The benefit with spreadsheet upload is it just that you download the template, fill in the data, and load it in. You don't need to prepare. You don't need to go through that grind of preparing a data file in HCM data loader format. All that effort can be saved by using a spreadsheet, but this will not work in case the data volume is quite high. Okay. So, and what you need to do is, depending on what entity you want to load the data into, you go into that particular screen. Say, for example, I want to load in departments now. So I go to manage department screen. And I can click on this manage in spreadsheet to download the spreadsheet. Showing folder, copy this, and I can paste it to the HSDL folder. Enable it. And again, you know what is a prerequisite to get this pop-up, right? You need to have ADF DI plugin installed. In case you are hearing it for the first time, look at the previous videos. I've explained what software or plugin needs to be installed for you to see this pop-up. Connect to the instance. Let me get the password, guys, for Fusion.Tech user. It says a new version is available, so I'll just keep it. and you can see the template populated. Right? Template has opened up, and in here, the first thing that you need to do is create a data set. Click on create a data set. And when you do that, you get this warning message which says that if there are any unsaved changes, they will be lost. That's fine. I don't have anything to lose. So I click on OK. Okay. So after downloading the spreadsheet, the first thing you need to do is connect to the instance and then create data set. And when you create a data set gets populated with a timestamp, department number and a timestamp. And scroll down, you will see an Excel spreadsheet, and here you can pass in the details with which the department needs to be created. So here say you want 3 or 4 departments to be created with a start date of say 1951. And you can say FD14 sales department. The set code you can mention in case you don't know, you can use common set code. But if you want to search it and pick it up from the instance itself, you can do that. All you have to do is double click on it so that it shows you what are the sets available within the instance, and you can pick up the common set. Okay, you can select the status, load it as an active department, and you can fill in other values as well if you want, like the other details related to the department. But if required, you can pass in other details, or else just create the department with these details. So you can paste in another row, and you get this error or warning rather, asking you to unprotect the sheet. Click OK. Go to Review tab, and you have Unprotect Sheet option there. And after you unprotect it, you will be able to copy paste the row. So you copy this row and paste it as many times as you want it, depending on how many rows you want to have in the department's file. So typically you get information from the client in this Excel format, and you will paste it in here into this Excel. And you could see that all the records are marked as changed. Let's just change the department name. Let me just have a look at the common set. For common, I think there are 3 or 4 options available there. Okay, I think I used. Let me look at the previous batch data file once. It's a common set, that's okay. Yeah, once you have the data ready to be loaded, so we have filled in 4 departments information in here. Yeah, you can pass in the other details as well as the details that you have received from the client. The records will be marked as changed. And now comes the tricky part. So the most common mistake that we do is we click on import file, assuming that this will import this file into HCM Cloud. But what this import file does is, this is an option given to import data from a file that you have from another file into the spreadsheet. So if you have data available in another file, and if you want to import it into a spreadsheet, you can use this import file option. This is not like importing data into HCM Cloud. So you can read from the description itself, right? It imports data from a file into this spreadsheet. And if you click on more icon, it's not, you should not click on this one. This is not the right one. Click on more, and then you click on upload. And when you click on upload, this is when the records get uploaded to HCM Cloud. And you get the standard options available, the standard upload options. The first one is checked by default, which means if one of the row fails, the other rows will be processed. And you have an option to download all the rows after they are successfully uploaded, but that's okay. I don't want to download a copy. So I go with the standard default options and I kick off the request. You can see that the rows are imported successfully, and you can track this request from the application. Okay, so you can go back to the data exchange screen. And on the data exchange screen, you can track this request, the request that you have sent in the recent spreadsheet loads, as well as in the HCM data loader as well. So if you go to recent spreadsheet loads, you will be able to see the spreadsheet load that you have kicked off. So this is in progress at the moment. But you won't get to see the detailed status here. So a much better way to monitor a spreadsheet load is, even if you're going to import and load data under HCM data loader, so from this navigation, you can even monitor the spreadsheet loads. So if you look at the load that is going on, so it is a department number, and this is the exact data set that we have triggered a spreadsheet data load with. Okay, so 23849. So the spreadsheet loads can also be monitored from the import and load data option available in HCM data loader. And this is a pretty exhaustive screen that was built. And Oracle is leveraging this screen to display the information for spreadsheet data loads as well. So if you come here, you will be able to get a status as to what is exactly running at the moment. Is it import or load, or what has failed if something has failed? Okay, so you get to see all that information here. So you refresh the process. You see that import is done and load is going on at the moment. And once the load is done, if you go back into the application, you should be able to see the departments created. Go to global search. And yes, the file is processed successfully. So if you search for FT14, you should be able to see the departments loaded. You could see that 4 departments have been loaded. And how did we load these departments? We have loaded them with a spreadsheet. So if the volume is low, you can think of using HCM spreadsheet data loader rather than HCM data loader. Because if you use this option, you don't need to go through that. You can save yourself from the effort you spend to prepare HCM data loader file. So again, depending on the volume, you take a call. Okay. Any questions, guys? Any questions in HCM spreadsheet data loader? Okay. I'll take it as no.
Hello, Ravi. Hello, sorry, sir. Yeah, Prasad. Hello?
Yes, Nagarjun.
Yeah, sorry. Actually, assume that if already that existing same data is there, So if you are uploading this file, so will it get overridden?
It will be merged. It will be merged, similar to how HCM data loader works. So if the job already exists, or if the department already exists, if there was, say, some other location attached, and if you send in a new location now, so the location gets updated. Or if you change the status to active, from active to inactive, the department gets updated to inactive. Okay. It works exactly the same way as HCM data loader. Okay?
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next one, guys. And the next topic is approvals, workflow approvals and notifications. Let me give you a background for this. So if you go into application, let me show you the navigation first, and then I'll explain from where you can control the approvals in ERP Cloud or ERP or HCM Cloud. So you go to Tools, and under Tools you have Transaction Console. Click on it. And in the transaction console, you see three options available here. For transaction summary screen, you can use this to monitor what are the transactions that are currently undergoing the approval process at the moment. Okay. And it's a pretty extensive screen. So you will usually see only the failed transactions by default. But if you take out that filter, it will show all the transactions that are undergoing the approval process. And you will have all the details available here, like what is the approval process. So if you look at this is a requisition submitted by a user, which is undergoing a requisition approval process. And you will be able to see the details as to who needs to approve first and or what has happened on this requisition previously. And if you look, if you see on this particular side, you will have a number of filters that you can apply. So you can search for your request by its name, or by the approval process name, or by priority, or by who has submitted it, or by person number. So you have quite a few filters available, which can help you to nail down your request or track your request. And we will come back to this screen while we start writing the approval rules. So we're going to write approval rules now, and we're going to send in few transactions which will go through those approval rules. And to monitor those transactions, we will come into this transaction manager screen or a transaction summary screen. Analytics is fine. It just shows you some analytical information. So we usually don't do anything in this particular screen. Just some good to know information might be available there. But this tab is important, approval rules. And this is quite important. And what do you see in here? You will see all the approval processes given by Oracle in HCM and ERP Cloud available here. Okay. So for a given entity, it will show you what are the processes are available. Say, for example, if it is say hire an employee. Okay. So you see that there is an approval process given. Say, for example, if you take the case of job, you see that there is not just one, there are a couple of approval process, one for create job and one for edit job. And say, for example, similarly, if you go to financials, if you search for journals, you have a journal approval. If you search for invoice, you have invoice approval, project contract invoice approval. So what you get to see here is a list of approval process available within ERP and HCM Cloud. Okay. And if in case some of you are thinking about it, yes, you cannot create your own approval process. If it exists, it exists. If it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. As simple as that. Okay? You cannot create a new approval process. But for a given approval process, there are few things that you can control. Okay? And for a given approval process, say for example, you pick up hire an employee. Okay? So when you go into, when a user logs into the application and tries to hire an employee, you can control whether you want to bypass approvals for that transaction. So there is this checkbox called bypass approvals. And if it is enabled, what that means is the moment user hits on the save button after filling in all the details on the create employee page, the employee gets created. It will not go through the approval process if this checkbox is enabled. So for a given approval process, you can decide whether you want to bypass approvals or not. And this checkbox, it says, as you can make out from the name itself, if some error is encountered along the process, during the approval process, if you tick this box, it will alert the initiator on the error. Means if user one submits, hires an employee and that request got stuck in an error or ran into an error somewhere down the line, then the initiator or the user one will get a notification. So that user one knows that there is some problem with a specific employee being hired and he can reach out to the concerned party. And this is quite important, the configure rules section. And this is where we will spend most of our time. Okay. And this is where you can write your own rules to determine and you will usually write these rules when you enable approvals, which means if you uncheck this box, that means you want every employee hired to go through an approval process. And to whom should it be sent for approval? Those rules you will configure in the configure rules section. So say for example, if you want to achieve the use case that I have shown in the first day session, say for example, if you want to achieve a use case like this, like whenever an employee is hired, it should go to first level manager and then the second level manager and then the payroll manager. And finally, for your information notification to be sent to recruiter. So if client asks for this approval process in HCM Cloud, what do? You need to first enable you need to uncheck this so that approvals get enabled, and you go into configure rules section and you will set up these approval rules in the configure rules section. So we'll get into that in a moment. Okay. And when you get into the configure rules, again, or let me walk you through that option as well. So it says that, what does it say? It is saying that you have bypassed approvals. So please be mindful of that. So even though you even though you configure any rules in here, it will not take effect because you're bypassing them, right? So that's why you're seeing that warning message, so that you can uncheck that box. So when you go into configure rules screen, that will give you a canvas where you can write your own rules. Sorry guys, in this particular screen, the approval rules screen, you will write the rules basically if condition, and when this condition is met, whom should it be sent for approval. It's basically if then conditions. If a condition is satisfied, whom should it go for approval. And you can write any number of if conditions here. And whom you can use as approvers, there is a long list of approvers here. I'm going to talk about them in a moment. Okay. So First you decide, not you, first the client will tell you whether approvals need to be enabled or not for a specific process, such as hire an employee, create job, create position, or invoice approval or journal approval. And if they says that yes, approval is required, then you bypass. So you uncheck that bypass approval checkbox. So that means the application will come here and search for the approver. And in here, you write the if then else rules. If a condition, and if that condition is met, then whom should it go for approval? Whom should the transaction go for approval? Whether it is a job, employee, or invoice or journal, it doesn't matter. And in here, or in this section, you have 7 options to use. And you need not use one of them at a time. You can use any combination of these approvers in the branch. It can be a combination of user, risk management, hierarchy, or other options. So I'll talk about these approvers in a moment. Okay. One key point or one key advice that I have for you guys is when you're practicing this particular topic, or this topic in particular, you try to pick up a process which takes you a least amount of effort to send in a request, because these menu options, the approval rules screen that you're seeing now, the options that are available here, or the way you write the rules, doesn't change with the approval process you pick up. And the way we are going to do is, so we will be writing approval rules here, and to test each and every rule, we will be sending in a positive and a negative test cases. Meaning, we will have to submit at least 10 requests of the process that you are selecting. So if you pick hire an employee as a process, and if you want to explore a workflow approvals with this process as an example, it's absolutely fine. But it's just that even after you make a small change in the approval rules to test it, you will have to spend 15-20 minutes to fill in all the fields required to create an employee. So that will become more like a data entry job. So you will be focusing more on creating an employee rather than working on the approval rules. So my suggestion would be, it's up to you whether to follow or not. My suggestion would be to pick up a process which is as simple as possible, because the way you write the rules is not going to change based on the process. Your intention is to learn this process, not the way you carry out the transaction. So you pick up a process such as create a job or create a grade or create a position, which will take in a minimal effort to send in multiple requests, because we need to send in at least 10 or 15 requests to test the various combinations of these. Okay, so having said that, let's go back. Let's pick up create job as an example. You're free to pick up hire an employee as well. It's up to you. So I'll pick up job as an example. And for job, you can see that there are 2 options available: create job, edit job. So you can check with client as to when he wants approval to be enabled. So he might say that enable approval when the job is created, but don't enable approval when the job is edited. Or he might say enable approval when the job is created as well as edited. So you have different approval process. So depending on what client tells you, you have to plug in the logic into these 2 approval process. So say, for example, the client has told you that when a job is created, so to see only that particular entry, let me be specific on the process name. So if I search for create job, so client said that whenever a job is created, it should get automatically created. It need not go through any approval process. Okay. So the client said that we don't need to send the jobs through any approval process. So let me just change this. Okay, so the first use case is client said that, let's assume the client said that whenever a job is created, he doesn't want the job to go through approval process. Then what do? You search for create job here. You come into the transaction console, search for create job, and you bypass approvals. And what will happen when you bypass approvals is, so whenever a user logs into the application and say he tries to create a job, and I've given the sample use case here. So let's say the user is creating FT14 bypass approval job. So the reason I picked up job as an example is, I just have to pass in the name in the code and I don't have to enter anything else. I can just click on submit here because there is only one more mandatory field, and for that again there is a default value there. So I just have to paste in two fields, or in fact paste in the job name and a job code, and I can submit the request. So it takes me a split second to submit a transaction. So that's why I've picked up create job as an example. So you can pick up create job or create grade or create some other process as an example while you're practicing it. And when you submit it, what actually happens is, so when the user is submitting it, what is being submitted? A job will not be inserted into base table. Instead, a request will be submitted, and that request is to create this particular job, the bypass approval job. And the moment you say yes here, the moment you submit a request, what application will do is, it will go into this particular screen and it knows that a job is being created. So what is enabled here? So bypass approvals is enabled. So what that means is, this particular request need not go through any approval process and it will get created instantaneously. So if you click on yes here, you will get a confirmation that request is submitted. But since you enable bypass approvals here, so the request or the job should get created almost instantaneously. So that should get inserted into the base tables and you will see the job created. Right? And that's a bypass approval. That's how it works. But let's say that the client has changed his mind, or say for a different use case, client said that no, we need approvals to be enabled. Okay, well and good, we will enable approvals for that. And how do you enable approvals for a specific process? All you have to do is uncheck this box. So if you uncheck bypass approvals, that means it's like enabling approvals. And then the moment they say enable approvals, you have to ask the client as to who should be the approvers for that particular transaction. So when a job is created, whom should it go for approval? And let's say the client has said that it should go to a specific user for approval. So before we come to this, let's get into the configure rules section. The moment you enable approvals, you need to write the rules which will control who will be the approvers for a specific transaction. Okay, so you can delete these rules. So when you come in here, when you come into this particular screen, don't think that Oracle would have given some configuration here and I will just have to make some changes if required. So when you come into this screen for the first time, you will not see anything. In fact, you will just see a blank if condition. You will not see anything. Okay, so that's something that you need to be aware of. So this is like a blank approval rules screen, and you will have to configure rules the way you want it. And you, frankly speaking, when you come into this screen for the first time, you will probably see it this way. Okay, so you will see a blank screen like this, and you will have an option to add in if then else clauses, and as an approvers whom you can use. So you can write an if condition, and when that condition is satisfied, you can mention to whom it has to be sent for approval, and who can be used as approvers here. You can send it to a specific user for approval, and in such case, you will use the users option here. or you can, so in some cases, the client might say that some of the transactions you auto approve them based on conditions, but some needs to go through the approval process. In such cases, whatever transaction needs to be auto approved, in case a transaction needs to be auto approved, you can use this auto approve option. So you will use this if you want to send a transaction to a specific user for approval. You will use this if you want the request to be auto approved. You will use this representative in case you want to send it to a representative configured in a module. I'm not exactly sure how this works, but as far as I know, in the modules, such as payroll and other modules, you can nominate a person as a representative, a user as a representative, like a payroll representative or a HR representative. And when you do that, I'm not sure what configuration is involved or required for that. But when you do that, you can use this representative option to send the transaction to that representative for approval. And apart from these three options, you've got three hierarchy options available. Say, for example, if you look at the previous use case, if you look at the previous use case, I think I closed that. So if you look at this use case, what does it say? It says that whenever employee is hired, it should go to the line manager approval, second level manager, and then the payroll manager, and then the recruiter, right? So if you have to achieve a use case like this, so the approver needs to be determined. So here, or in short, the transaction need to use a management hierarchy, right? So whenever a user hires an employee, it should go to his manager, and after that manager approves it, it should go to manager's manager. So it means a management hierarchy needs to be used. So in such cases, wherever there is a requirement to send in a transaction through management hierarchy, you can use the management hierarchy option. Say, for example, when a job is created, let's say the client has told you that it has to go through management hierarchy. So whenever a user submits a job, a client could say that always send it to a specific user for approval. Or client might say that depending on who submits it, which user submits it, send the transaction to that user's manager. And once he approves it, send the transaction or move it one level up and send it to manager's manager. So in such case, if the transaction needs to go through approval process using management hierarchy, you will use this option. Meaning when user creates a transaction, like create a job or hire an employee, it will go to his manager. And how many levels it should go for, you can also control that. So the moment you add a management hierarchy to the approval rules, you can determine how many levels it should, how many approval levels are required. So if you say 1, say I submit the request, log into the application and I submit the request, say ABC is my manager. That ABC will receive my request, the job that I have created, he will receive it for approval. And once he approves it, the job gets created. But let's say you use 2 levels of approval. Then I submit the request, it goes to ABC, ABC approves it. But let's assume the manager of ABC is DEF. And then DEF gets a notification and he also has to approve it. So you can use a management hierarchy when it has to go through the management hierarchy, of course. Plus, you can also determine the number of levels it has to go through. And for hierarchy, you've got a couple of more options as well, like a job level based and a position based. These two also work exactly the same way management hierarchy works. Okay, but the way it works is, so if I log into the application and submit a request, say create a job, and if we use position hierarchy in the approval process, there would be a position attached to my employee record, right? On my employee record, there will be assignment, and on the assignment, there will be a position attached. Say, for example, I am an analyst. And for that analyst position, whenever you configure positions, you will mention a parent position. So for analyst, say a senior analyst is a parent position. And then that senior analyst position would have been attached to another user. on the assignment record. Say, for example, ABC again. So I have logged into the application and submitted a request, and I have my position is analyst, and then a senior analyst, whoever has that position attached to their assignment record will get a notification, and they will be able to approve that. And again, similar to management hierarchy, you can also control how many levels it has to go up in the position hierarchy. So it's just that instead of management hierarchy, it uses position hierarchy, and the position hierarchy will be based on the position definitions. Whenever you create a position, you mention a parent position on top of the position. Okay, so whenever you configure a position, you mention parent position, and that's how it identifies the parent position hierarchy. And the same way, you can also use a job level based line manager hierarchy if you want. Okay, so management hierarchy is extensively used when compared to other two, but these two also work in the same way, in pretty much the same way. And apart from these hierarchies, you can also create approval groups and use it as an approver. So if you want a particular transaction to go through or to go through a set of participants for approval, say for example, it has to go to A, then to B, and then to C. And and let's assume that ABC is a static list. And then what you can do, you will create an approval group with A, B, and C, and then you will use that approval group in the approval rules section here. And the moment a job is submitted, it will go to A. After A approves it, it goes to B, and after B approves it, it goes to C. Okay, so you can create an approval group with the participants or approvers, and you can use that approval group in the flow. And you can also use application role. This is I would say the least preferred or least used approver. But the way this works is, say for example, in the approval section, you used application role, it will ask you what role, it will ask you to pick up a role. And say for example, you are configuring journal approvals, and say you selected application role as a general accounting manager. And the moment any user logs in, creates a journal and submits it for approval, it will go to the person who has a general accounting manager role assigned. If there are two people with general accounting manager role assigned, then it will go to both of them, and any one of them can approve it. And once one of them approves it, the journal gets created. So you can use application role as an approver, meaning all the users who have that application role assigned will get a notification, and they will be able to either approve or reject the transaction. So that's how these approvers work. And when we do the hands-on exercise for the next 40 minutes today, and if something gets left over tomorrow, we will be using only one of them at a time. To avoid confusion, I'll use only one of them at a time, one of the approver at a time. But don't think that it has to always work that way. You can use any combination of these approvers. So you can first send it to a specific approver, and then after he approves it, you can send it to management hierarchy. And after it goes through the management hierarchy, you can send it to an approval group as well. You can use any combination of the approvers. Okay. Now let's go ahead and start off with the use cases. So let's start off with a simpler one. So let's say for a job, earlier the client said approvals are not required, but now he changed his mind. And let's say the client has asked to enable approvals for the job creation. So we uncheck that bypass approval box, and we are in the create job approval rules section. And you will ask our client as to whom should the requests or whom should the transactions go for approval, or whom should the jobs go for approval. He said that it has to always go to a specific user for approval, and it's fusion.func user. Then what do? You come here and write a rule. You will have if condition. You click on the plus icon. Or you click on the plus icon. A rule gets created. And in the rule, it will be a default rule that gets created. You can give it a name. You can probably say a default rule. and you can assign status to the rule. By default, the rules will be active. In case you want to momentarily turn off any rule, on a temporary basis, if you want to turn off some rules, you can make them inactive instead of deleting them. And you can assign priority to the rules. And this comes into picture when you have rules. And if you want, so this priority is given to help us set the order in which the rules need to be executed. But this priority doesn't work as expected in some scenarios. But what you see in the drop-down is you have 8 levels, or rather 7 priority levels. For each rule, again, you can assign a priority. And when the rules get executed, they get executed based on the priority that you assign to them. Okay? But what you will notice is that I'll stress on this later on as well, that don't rely on the priority to decide the order in which the rules need to be executed. I'll discuss more about it later on. But for now, just think that all you need to know is, yes, there is a priority that you assign to a rule. And you can give a description if you want, and you configure the rule conditions. And if you look at the rule condition, what is the rule that is written here? It checks if 1 equal to 1. And 1 will always be equal to 1, right? So that means this condition will always become true. So it doesn't matter what job is created, this rule becomes true. And if you click on configure rule conditions, you will be able to see how Oracle generated this default rule when we clicked on the plus icon. So it generated a default rule. And in this screen, you can write the conditions. And you've got n number of options available to write the conditions here. So you can use logical operators and write complex conditions. And how do you write the conditions? You edit the selection, and you've got quite a few options available here. So we'll come back and write a complex condition here later on. But for now, what is the condition that is written? Oracle has chosen enter a number option here. It has selected 1 equal to, and again it has chosen enter a number and selected 1 again. So which means it is basically checking if 1 is equal to 1, which will always be true, right? So that means this rule becomes true for all the job requests created in the application. And in the then clause, so what did the client say? The client said that approval, all the jobs should go to fusion.func user for approval, right? So you click on, and so you need to use users option, and you need to choose fusion.func user. And this is important, guys, please pay attention here. So if you look at the approvers, I know that I need to use this user, this option in the then clause. But you see there is a plus icon, but it's not enabled. So for this plus icon to be enabled, you click on the then clause. You click on the then clause, and then you notice that this plus symbol gets enabled, and you click on the plus icon, and then the user gets added. Okay, so if you want to add in another participant, you click on the plus icon, and say, for example, after the user approves it, you want to send it to approval group. You click on the plus icon and it gets added, the approval group gets added, and you can move them around as you want. Okay, and you can take them off. Take off the approval group. We'll do one at a time. And what did the client say? What was the requirement? Client said that all the jobs need to go to fusion.func user for approval. So we have dropped in users, and we say approval required. So what type of notification do you want to send in? You can determine here. So if you want to send in for your action a notification wherein approver should either approve or reject the notification, then you will go with the default one, which is approval required. If it is, say, for your information only kind of a notification, wherein you just have to mention what is the it's like, say, if you want to send in for your information notification where approver need not do anything, it's just for his information. Say, for example, in this use case, or in the initial use case that I have shown you, you need to send out a notification to the recruiter at the end, right? So that is just to inform him that yes, the approval process is complete for a specific employee or a specific candidate. So your approval required for your action notification, information only, it sends out a FII notification. And click on the user and you select user there, and you will be able to search for a user and pick it up. Click on the drop down. Search for the user and select it. Save the rules. And when you save the rules, these rules will be only saved to the canvas. They will not be committed in the application or committed to the application. So for these changes to be committed to the application, just clicking on save will not do. You have to submit them as well. And until you submit it, you won't see the changes that you have done getting reflected in the application. So don't just save, submit as well. Okay, you get a confirmation that it is submitted. And you can go back into the application, sign out. Or you can probably create a new job without signing out. It's okay. And let's submit a new job. And we call this as approval by Fusion Funk user. And I need not enter anything here. Just click on submit. The request is submitted. And we log into the application. Let's open a new incognito window. And whom should it go for approval? It should go for a Fusion.Funk user approval, right? So let's log into the application as Fusion.Funk user. And I'll share the passwords of our two users here. I'm bringing the password of Fusion.Funk user and a 3185 employee user, because we're going to use 3185 user login to test the management hierarchy. So please keep these passwords for your reference and save it. I've pinged it in the chat. And yeah, I've logged into the application as Fusion.Funk user. And if I look at the notifications, I haven't received it yet. Okay, so let's wait for some time. You don't need to sign out and sign in multiple times. By default, it gets refreshed and you will see a notification appearing by default. But since we can't wait that long in a training session, we keep sign out and signing in back so that it gets reflected immediately. Log in again as Fusion.Funk user. And first of all, if you search for the username, if you search for the job that you have created, that job should not have been created. So the bypass approval, it got created instantaneously, right? That's because approvals were bypassed. But we have enabled approvals and we have set up approval rules in such a way that all the job requests should go to Fusion.Funk user. And then we have sent in this request, this job request. So let's see if the job is created. The job is not created. So what that means is a request has been submitted for this job creation, but it is undergoing the approval process at the moment, right? So you go into the application. Okay, so you see that the job has come for Fusion.Funk user approval. He'll be able to see the details, the job name, job code, and the effective start date. And he will also be able to see who created it. And he has a quick action buttons to take an action. You can either approve the transaction or reject it. And if you want to see additional details, you can click on it, and that will open up and display the additional options or additional information or the options available. It takes a bit of time to pull the details.
Prasad, I have a quick question. Now the data is not stored in the base tables, right? Whether now the data will be available where? It will be available in the BPM table or what?
I believe so. Yeah, but I'm not sure what tables or whether we'll be able to query these tables or not. But I believe it will be available in the intermediate tables.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So you see the job details here, the job name, job code, and these are the 4 mandatory columns that you have, and a few more fields from a job getting displayed here. It's submitted by Fusion.tech user, and it is assigned to Fusion.func user for approval. He can either approve or reject it, and he has got a few more options available here. And if user wants to approve it, or Fusion.func user wants to approve it, he'll click on approve. It asks him if he wants to add in any comment or add any attachment. That's okay. You can just leave it blank and click on submit. And once you do this, if you click on it again, that should disappear from the notification list. And if you go back to the other session and if you search for the job, it should have been created now. Now that the approver, a Fusion.func user, approved this. And let's send in one more request, and we will reject this job to see how or what happens if approver rejects it. It again will be submitted to Fusion.func user for approval. Not showing up yet. Probably it will take a minute for the notification to show up. And if you want to track the notification, you can go to a transaction summary to figure out where exactly the transaction is stuck. So say for example, this is a request that we submitted, right? Reject by Fusion.func job. So the job is not created yet, and you can come here and you can search for the specific job. So you can probably just take out the filter. If you just take out the failed filter, you will be able to see the recent requests submitted. Okay. So I think there was an additional failed filter applied earlier, so that's why it was not showing up. But if you search for the transaction, the job that you have submitted, you can see the process, who submitted it, and you will also be able to see the approver, who is the current approver. And if you click on it, you will be able to see further details. You can see that Fusion.tech user submitted it, and it's waiting with Fusion.func user for approval now. Okay, let's sign out and sign in as Fusion.func user. and we could see the notification now. But this job, I'll reject it. And you could see that it has been acted upon. And if you go back into the application, if you search for the job, it will never get created because it was sent to an approver who rejected it. So that the job will not get created in the application. That request is done and dusted. Okay. So that's how a specific user for approval works. Okay. So if the approval or if the request needs to be sent to a specific user, this is how you can configure it. But let's say a client has come up with a new requirement, or say the use case is this. Probably the Fusion.Func user might have said that he's getting too many jobs for approvals. Then the client said that don't send all the jobs to Fusion.Func user for approval. Only send the full-time and regular jobs to Fusion.Func user for approval. All other jobs, if it's a part-time temporary job, you auto-approve them. So when you create a job, you can mention whether it is a full-time or a part-time job and whether it is a regular or temporary job. So the requirement is this: if the job is created as a full-time regular job, then the job needs to go through approval process and it should go to Fusion.Func user. If it is a part-time temporary job, the job should get auto-approved because there could be many part-time jobs and the client might not want those job requests or might not want those job requests which are part-time or temporary to go through the approval process. So how do you set up such a flow? So you go into the approval rules screen, create job, edit the rules, so if you look at the current approval rule setup, all the jobs, because in this if condition we're checking 1 equal to 1, which is always true, all the jobs are being sent to Fusion.Func user. But what is the new requirement? New requirement is to send only the full-time regular jobs to Fusion.Func user. And we'll come back to the else part in a moment. So for now, what do we need to change? We need to change this rule. And we need to write in a condition here which checks whether the user has selected whether the job is full-time, a regular or not. So let's change the rule name. So you say a full-time regular rule. Let's say regular job rule maybe. And in the configure rules condition, you can change in the condition. You can say, you can select the expression. Save it. Click on configure rule conditions and select the condition. For some reason it is not letting us edit the selection. That's okay. Let's cancel it, come out and go back in again. Configure rule conditions. Not sure why we are getting that issue. Okay, let me do it this way. Let me I've logged in as Fusion.tech user here. And let me go to the approval or transaction console from this session. And let's go to approval rules. Search for create job. Configure rules. And what do we need to check here? So we need to change the condition. Currently we're checking if 1 equal to 1. So you click on configure rule conditions and we need to change this. And as you can see, once you select it, these buttons got enabled now. So this was not working earlier in Chrome. So select the condition and click on edit selection. And in here, what do I need to check? I need to check if the job is full-time and regular. So I click on the drop-down. So among the options available, there are a few options. You can enter a string or a number or a date or a function. But you click on select from attribute. And in the attribute, you can select the proposed job attribute value. So if you go to proposed job attribute, you click on that and you can select a full-time or part-time. So this is a way of accessing what user has filled in that a full-time or part-time option on the proposed job. What did he pick up? Did he pick up full-time or a part-time job? And we are comparing, we need to check if that is equal to, or if the user has selected full-time in this drop-down when he created the job. So when he created the job, if he has selected full-time or not, we are verifying here. So how do you verify it? You can say enter a string and you can type in full-time there. But instead of taking a chance, because you might commit a typo there, right? So instead of taking a chance, you can say select from LOV directly. And when you say select from LOV, the LOV that is used to display values for full-time or part-time on the job screen, what options are available in there, that the same options will be available here as well. So for the full-time and part-time options on the job, you see two options, full-time and part-time, and you see the same two options here. And you compare and you see if that attribute is selected by user as full-time or not, the full-time or part-time attribute. Click OK. But this is only one of the rules that client has mentioned, right? And what else did he mention? He mentioned that only the full-time and regular jobs. This and is also important. We'll come to that in a moment. But we also need to check if it is a regular job or not, right? So how do you check if it's a regular job or not? So I need to add in another condition. And to add in another condition, you need to select the existing one and you need to add the logical operators. So here the client said the job has to be full-time and a regular. So you select the condition and you click on and. And when you click on and, it gets added here. And you click on the and condition. And you add an expression again. So that will give you an option to configure another expression. And you do the same thing, select from attribute. But this time you will select a regular or part-time. You scroll down to select regular and part-time, equal to, and you select the value as select from LOV, and the option as regular. Click OK. So now we are checking if the proposed job is full-time, regular job. And since the client said yen, so he asked us to check if the job is full-time and regular. We have used and condition here. If client had told or both the full-time or the regular jobs need to be sent to fusion.func user, then you would use or condition here. Okay, so instead of and, you would have used or. So depending on the condition. So since the requirement is that only the full-time regular jobs need to be sent to fusion.func user for approval, we have written a condition like this. And you can write pretty complex conditions in here. You're using the options available here. Click OK. And as you start building your conditions here, you will see the same getting reflected at the bottom as well. Click OK. And you click on users. And it's going to the fusion.func user, and that's absolutely fine. But there is this else part as well, right? So only the full-time regular jobs need to go to fusion.func user. All other jobs, else means all other jobs should get auto-approved. So to achieve this, what do? You select the if condition and you add in another rule. And in that rule, you can probably call it as part-time job rule. Part-time temporary job rule. And you can leave it as active status and the priority as medium and configure the rule conditions. Select the expression and you will write the condition in a different way now. So you say select from attribute again. Pick up full-time or part-time and you say if it is equal to select from LOB. And you select part-time here. And condition, add in another expression. And you can say select from attribute again. Regular or temporary, equal to, and you select that it's a temporary job. So if it's a part-time or temporary job, if it's a part-time temporary job, what did the client say? The requirement is to auto-approve it. So in such case, what do? You click on the then clause and you click on this self-auto-approve option. You add that to the rules. So with the current rules in place, if it's a full-time regular job, it go to a fusion.func user for approval. But if it's a part-time temporary job, it goes to it gets auto-approved. The request gets auto-approved. Let's save the changes and submit them. Okay, and now you send in another request. Let's send in the full-time regular request first. manage job and send in a request. It's a full-time regular job. Go to next screen. And in the next screen, we should select the appropriate option, select full-time regular job and submit the request. The expectation is that this request, a full-time regular, it should go to Fusion.Func user for approval. It should not get auto-approved. So let's see if that works or not. Let's log out from this session as Fusion.Func user and log in back again. It has not yet come to the Fusion.Func user for approval. You could see that the request has come to Fusion.Func user for approval. So till the time this request is not acted upon, it would not be created. And if I approve it, yeah, the job gets created in the application. Since it's a full-time regular job, it has gone to Fusion.Func user for approval. And since Fusion.Func user approved it, the job got created in the application. And let's send in one more request. But this is not a full-time regular job. Instead, it's a part-time temporary job. And what should happen in this particular case, as per the client requirement, this request should not go through the approval process. It should get auto-approved, meaning it should get created almost instantaneously. So let's submit the request. You could see that the request has been created. It didn't go through the approval process, or rather, it could have gone through the approval rules section, but it went into that other branch wherein we have placed in the auto approve option. So the first request went into this branch, second request went into this branch, and since we used auto approve, it got created.
Hey Prasad, if I do the file upload, also the workflow will be activated, right?
Yes, correct. So that's why what we normally do is when we do the data load, since those transactions are already existing in the application, maybe R2L or other current application, we turn off the approvals, load in the data, and then we enable approvals. But what you said is right. If these are enabled, if approval rules are enabled, even if you load in something through HDL or HSDL, they will go through the approval process. Okay. Any questions, guys? Any questions in what we covered today? There are a few more options to cover, or a few more topics to cover in this, which we'll look at tomorrow.
Prasad, I have a question. Now we are putting everywhere if condition only, right? Is there any way else is also available? Okay. Otherwise, every time I have to write all the 3 conditions or 4 conditions, right?
Correct. Unfortunately, there is no else condition. But what you said is right. And for that reason only, Oracle has given this priority. Okay. But this doesn't work as expected. So what else could we have done in here? So to avoid, instead of writing multiple rules, so I will write one rule, and if that is not true, I will write in a sort of an else condition wherein I say 1 equal to 1, and I say auto approve, and that for that default condition I will assign the least priority, and my assumption is that that rule gets executed as a last one, right? But the priority is not working as expected. So you can try it out, but when I tried 3 or 4 times, it didn't work as expected. So if you instead of writing in this whole condition, if you say 1 equal to 1 and assign least priority, and if you assign highest priority to this, the expectation is that first this condition will be evaluated, and if that is not true, only then the rule with the least priority gets executed, right? That was the expectation, but it doesn't work that way. So you will notice that even if you submit a full-time regular job, sometimes this rule gets picked up, wherein if you configure this as 1 equal to 1, it becomes true for every job, right? It becomes true for full-time regular as well as other jobs also. You will notice that even those are getting auto-approved. Yeah, unfortunately, there is no else condition. And the priority is also not working as expected. It doesn't work as expected. So my suggestion would be not to rely on the priority. Instead, write the conditions in a mutually exclusive way. And you might also have to handle a condition where both of them could be null or one of them could be null. So the combinations will also explode. Okay.
I think, Prasad, which is also a case with AME approvals in EBIS. There also we have to have those rules mutually exclusive. There is no else condition.
Yeah. Probably they would have stick to the old rule then.
Prasad, one more question. Now we are selecting the attributes, right? Is it possible to select the DFF also?
Yeah, the DFF also will be available in there. So if I go into the condition, DFF attribute will also be available. If you go down here, you could see attributes, right? So similar way, the other attributes, normal attributes also will be available.
Okay. Prasad, sorry, one more question. Suppose now Fusion Func user is creating this job. Okay. Now by default it is assigned to him only, right? Whether it will again he has to go and approve it or it will be self-approved automatically.
Now I've created the request as fusion.tech user.
That is fine. But if, yeah, correct. Yeah, Fusion.func user is creating the job.
If it gets auto-approved.
Okay.
He doesn't have to approve his own request. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, yeah. Any other questions, guys?
Yeah, Prasad. Can you go into that conditions? So the second condition, that part-time and temporary fee removed. So normally if only one condition is there, so if job is created with the part-time and temporary, what it is going to happen? If you are not decided this,
it will run into error. Yeah. If you don't handle, that's a good question. In fact, if you don't handle, so the expectation is that as a developer, you need to handle all possible combinations here. So you need to write rules in such a way that there will be at least one rule which becomes true for all the possible use cases. If you write in a rule which will take care of only a subset, like let's say you just have this rule and you don't have this rule, and someone sends in a request with part-time temporary, it gets stuck. You enabled approvals, but you didn't write a rule here. It will end in error, and the workflow admin needs to come to the transaction summary screen, and he will have to look at the error and decide or tell you what might have probably gone wrong. Or to put it simply, it goes into error. Nobody knows what has happened unless someone debugs it. As simple as that. So that's why when you write the rules, you have to be extra careful and try to handle all possible scenarios. Yeah. Okay.
Those errors, again we can reprocess the things, we can correct it, and if it is
Yeah, some of the errors I believe you can probably assign it to them. Say for example, you can probably try out the same thing that you just mentioned. So when you but what you can do is you can select the transaction, and it probably depends on what type of error that it has run into. Some of the errors you can reprocess them. You can probably assign them to a different user. And in some cases, what happens is approver might have gone on leave, right? So in such cases, the request needs to be reassigned to someone else. So in such cases, yes, you can, if the request is in progress, but there is no rule to process it, you can reassign it. You can get into the request and you can do a reassignment.
Yeah, okay.
For example, you go in there and you will be able to withdraw or reassign. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, guys? Okay. I will pick it up from here tomorrow. There are a few more options that we need to cover in the approvals. We will check them tomorrow. Thank you. Thanks for your time, guys.